How are you? I am absolutely fine. This is my channel, Deep Learning Biology. My name is Dr. Vikash Bhardwaj. So, through this video, we are going to have very important discussion. In this video, I am going to teach you what is science. So, here we are going to discuss what is science, what is biology, what is science, what is biology, and how the knowledge in the field of biology it is being developed. So how the knowledge in the field of biology it is being developed. So all these points we are going to discuss in this video. Now, do you know what is science? Any idea? Can you think what is science? Okay, now here I just want to tell you, if you look this word science, okay, and if you look the origin of this word science, so if you see the origin of this word, the origin is from Latin language and the term is scientia. And if you see the meaning of the word scientia, it is to know. So here the literal meaning of science is to know. Now what we want to know? We want to know truth. We want to know facts. So in science we want to know truth, we want to know facts behind any phenomena. So hopefully it is clear in your mind what is science. Now here I want to tell you something about history of the word scientist. Okay, now try to see here. In the year 1834, William Whewell, okay, so he was actually an historian of science, okay, and earlier the scientists, they were being known as natural philosopher, or generally they were being known as men of science. There was no terminology like scientist. So William Whewell, he first time introduced the word scientist. At the time nobody liked this word. Okay, so it was just like the people who were learning economy, they were known as economist. Okay, who were having interest in art, they were known as artist. So he also introduced the word scientist. Initially nobody liked this word, but now you know that it is a great privilege that if someone is a scientist. Now here I just want to tell you, who is a scientist? The person who practices scientific study. The person who practice scientific study, they are known as scientist. Now here now discuss the term biology. Okay, now here if you see in the biology, you are going to have two terms, bio plus logy. And before having the discussion what is the meaning of biology, I just want to tell you, earlier the scientists, they used to have this term, natural history, natural philosophy. So we were not having the word biology. So earlier we used to have the word natural history, natural philosophy. But if you see today, the word biology, and hopefully I remember this word was introduced by Lamarck. Hopefully you have learned about Lamarckism. So biology, if you break down this word, it is going to have two words, bio plus logy. Bio here it refers to life, and logy means to study. So in biology, generally what we are going to study, we are going to study about life. Try to see here, if you look the classical definition of biology, so here how you can define the biology, it's quite simple. It is actually a branch of science branch of science that deals with study of life and living organisms. So you know very well, in science you are going to have different branch like physics, chemistry. Okay, in biology, okay, if you see the biology, it is also a branch of science that deals with study of life and living organisms. And here we are also going to study structure, function, growth, evolution, distribution and interaction among living organisms. So here from this definition it is clear what is biology. What is biology? It is the branch of science that deals with study of life and living organisms, including their structure, function, growth, evolution, distribution and interaction. So in biology we are going to study the structure of living organisms, function of living organism, how different organs they are going to function, how the living organism is going to grow, how the living organism is going to evolve, distribution, ecology, and how the living organisms they are going to interact among themselves. So this is biology. Now let's move to the next point. Try to see here. If you see living organisms, they can be plants, they can be animals, they can be microorganisms, except virus. And here keep in mind, in biology we are going to study process of life. So generally we are going to study different process like metabolism, all the metabolic activities, okay, sum total of all the biochemical activities which are occurring within a system, within any living organism, they are known as metabolic activities, metabolism. Okay, so here we are going to study metabolism. We are going to study different process like reproduction, like we are going to study how the organisms they are going to adaptation, and finally we are going to study evolution. So here we are going to study different systems, digestive system, immune system, reproductive system, okay, then adaptation, evolution. So we are going to study different process of life. Now here if you see in the case of biology, we are going to have our study at different level. Okay, sometimes we are going to have study at cellular level. So we are going to study different type of cells. We are going to study how these different type of cells they are going to form tissues, how different tissues they are going to form organs, okay, and how different organs they are going to make organ system, and later how all these organ systems they are going to make individuals. So we are going to have different level of studies. Sometimes we are going to have cellular level study, sometimes we are going to study at tissue level, sometimes we are going to study at organ level, and sometimes we are going to study different system like digestive system, reproductive system, immune system, okay, and sometimes we are going to study the complete individual. Now here in biology we are going to also have sometimes study at molecular level. So in biology you must be knowing there are biomolecules within the cell like DNA, RNA, proteins, lipids, carbohydrates. So in biology we are also going to study the chemistry of DNA, RNA, proteins, lipids, carbohydrates, and these things generally we discuss in biochemistry. So we can have cellular, tissue, organ level, organ system level study, individual level study, and also study at the level of biomolecules. Now here I also want to tell you, sometimes we study living organisms at ecology level. So we are going to discuss what is ecology, what is ecosystem, what is biosphere, when we are going to discuss about environment and ecology. So at a different level we can study living organisms. So this is an overview of biology. Now let us discuss how any biological study it is being done. What are the steps? Okay, so here the first step, keep in mind, it is observation. When you are going to observe something carefully, so in the nature, if you are going to observe something carefully, then some question may come in your mind, why that thing is happening. Okay, so remember, biological study, it starts with careful observation when someone is going to notice the natural phenomena. Okay, so first important point, that the biological study, they start with observation. Now here I just want to give you one example. You must be knowing about the scientist Alexander Fleming. What he noticed? One day he noticed that penicillium, a mold, okay, it inhibited the growth of bacteria. When he noticed, okay, that on a petri plate there was a growth of penicillium, and this growth of the mold, it actually inhibit the growth of bacteria. So it was his careful observation. Now once you are going to have careful observation, then you are going to ask questions. You have to identify the problem. So here, after having careful observation, what you are going to do? You are going to ask question, you are going to identify the problem. So here in front of Alexander Fleming, the question was, why does penicillium inhibit the bacterial growth? Why the mold, okay, it inhibit the growth of bacteria? So on the petri plate where there was growth of penicillium, what he found, what he saw, the bacterial growth was inhibited. Okay, so this was the question in front of Alexander Fleming, why this thing happened. Now in the next step, what we are going to do? We are going to do background research. We are going to do literature review. So you have observed something. Now in your mind there is a question, and if you want to know the answer, okay, what you are going to do? Background research. You are going to study different studies. Okay, this might be the reason. Okay, now if there is any earlier existing scientific knowledge, based on that existing scientific knowledge, okay, we want to answer that this might be the reason. But try to see here, sometimes we are not going to have the answer for the problem. So in that situation, what we are going to do? You are going to do experiments. Okay, so in the next step, what scientists they are going to do? First, they are going to formulate hypothesis. They are going to formulate hypothesis. Okay, I have searched the literature. Okay, I didn't find the right answer. Okay, so now they are going to formulate the hypothesis. What is hypothesis? Try to see here. Hypothesis is educated guess. Hypothesis is educated guess. This is your educated answer. Okay, so tentative explanation, prediction. Okay, this might be the reason. Okay, so here the scientists initially they are going to formulate hypothesis. Now in the next step they have to test the hypothesis. So here in this example, okay, penicillium, the mold, okay, it might secrete some chemicals which might kill the bacteria. So this was the question in front of Alexander Fleming. Okay, so initially what he observed, the penicillium, Okay, wherever there was a growth of penicillium, okay, the bacterial growth was inhibited. Okay, now here the question arises, what actually caused the inhibition? Is there any chemical being secreted by the penicillium, or some proteins, or different kind of mechanisms being used? Okay, so here initially he designed the hypothesis. So penicillium might be secreting something that might be responsible for the death of bacteria. Okay, so initially there is formulation of hypothesis. Next, what scientists generally they do? They test the hypothesis. They test the hypothesis. Okay, here how they are going to test the hypothesis? By designing experiments. By designing experiments. So you are going to carefully design the experiments. Okay, then based on your results, okay, so you are going to analyze the results. Then here you are going to have some conclusion, but even that conclusion might be wrong. Okay, so you are going to get some conclusion, okay, that you did the experiment, you have the conclusion. Okay, so again you have to repeat the experiment, you have to verify your results. Okay, because sometimes if you are getting the result, okay, and if there is some error during the time of experiments, you may get some wrong results. So what scientists generally they do, they repeat and they verify the results. So they actually check the reproducibility of the results. Okay, so here you are going to test the hypothesis multiple times. You are going to test the hypothesis multiple times. Okay, now after testing the hypothesis, okay, now try to see here. I have told you what is an hypothesis. Hypothesis is educated guess. Now to test the hypothesis, you have designed the experiments, and let's suppose you have done the experiment multiple times. Okay, now there can be two possibilities. One, your results, your experiment results, they are going to support the hypothesis. Okay, so your hypothesis might be true. Okay, so let's suppose you have proposed the hypothesis, okay, like Alexander Fleming, that there might be some chemicals secreted by penicillium. Okay, those chemicals are killing the bacteria, and you test it, and then you find that this is penicillin, the drug is killing the bacteria. Okay, so this is your hypothesis, and later it stands true. Okay, so it stands true based on experiments. Now there can be another situation also. There can be another situation also. What can happen? Your hypothesis might be rejected. Okay, your experiments, they are not going to favor, they are not going to support your hypothesis. In that situation, it is rejected. Now don't worry. In this situation, you are going to frame new hypothesis. You are going to frame new hypothesis. Okay, so this way the scientific knowledge in the field of biology, it is being developed. Now here the story, it is not going to end. So scientists, okay, after conducting the experiment, after getting the results, and if the hypothesis what they have framed, okay, and the experiments whatever they have done, okay, and it favors the hypothesis, okay, then they are going to publish their results in scientific journals. So scientists, what they do, they publish their findings in scientific journals, research journals. So in the field of biology, if you are going to see various different kind of journals, in all these journals, what you are going to see? Research articles, latest research. So scientists, remember, they publish their findings in research journals. This way they communicate their research findings with other scientists. Now here other scientists, okay, the individuals who are interested in reading, in studying some kind of research, okay, let's suppose, they initially, okay, they are going to study the research, okay, so many of the younger generation, okay, the students, okay, researchers, they will study, they will read that research papers, but few of them, okay, they will also try to check whether the findings are true. Okay, so here the question is of reproducibility. So initially the scientists, before reporting their research, they are sure that I have repeated the experiment multiple times. Okay, now my hypothesis, it stands true. Okay, now based on experiments, these are my conclusions. Now I can communicate to the entire world. Okay, so this way they are going to publish their findings. But here other people, other scientists, they are also going to study, and some of them, okay, who are having facility, who can conduct the same experiments in their lab, they are also going to repeat the experiments. So they are going to test the validity of the results. Okay, now if other scientists, they are going to get the same result, so it will increase the reproducibility of the results. Okay, so then other scientists, they will also get convinced that the hypothesis is true. Now here, if you are going to have hypothesis, and if other scientists in the field, they also universally accept the hypothesis that these are the findings, okay, this lab have found this lab has found this findings, and other labs are also getting the same results. In that situation, the hypothesis will be universally accepted. So when any hypothesis is universally accepted, then it will become scientific theory. Your hypothesis will become scientific theory. Okay, so initially you were having some educated guess, hypothesis, okay, and later you tested it, and then you find that based on experiment that your hypothesis is true, your educated guess is true, then you publish these findings, and later other scientists, they also have done the experiment. Some of them have checked your results, and once they have found all that your hypothesis is accepted, it is true, then it is going to become scientific theory. So your hypothesis now become a theory. Now try to see here, if any scientific theory, if any scientific theory, it holds true for a longer time, then it will become truth, it will become facts. Okay, try to see here how the truth, it is being dug out, how the facts, they are coming to us. Okay, it is a lengthy journey. Okay, so scientists all over the world, they are doing experiments, they want to study different natural phenomena, and based on their study, they are digging out the truth, they are going to digging out the facts. Okay, so initially the journey starts from hypothesis, then theory, then truth, then facts. And hopefully you remember, in science, what we want to know truth, we want to know facts. Now try to see here, if you are going to do any scientist is going to do some groundbreaking research, okay, which is going to impact, you can say, the entire world, okay, it is going to advance in any field. So what the individual is going to get? Nobel Prize, okay, highest award. Okay, so if someone is going to carry out groundbreaking scientific research, okay, you must be knowing they are going to get Nobel Prize. Now, up till here I have told you how the scientific knowledge in the field of biology, or you can take any field, it is being developed. Now try to see here, if you are going to read your textbooks, just carefully analyze your textbook. Most of you are reading Nobel Prize, groundbreaking scientific research. So in basic textbooks, okay, what you are going to read? Groundbreaking scientific research. Okay. Now, here, before ending this lecture, I just want to tell you one quote of James Watson. How he actually defined the science, okay, how he explained this term, the science. So try to see here. Science seldom proceeds in the straightforward logical manner imagined by outsider. Generally we believe that if you are going to get some knowledge, scientific knowledge, and the science, it will keep progressing. No, try to see this line. Instead it steps forward and sometimes backward. Sometimes the scientific knowledge, it moves forward and sometimes backward. And here this is going to depend on personalities, cultural traditions, okay. All these are also going to influence the science. Okay, so this was one quote from James Watson, one of the famous scientists who actually discovered the structure of DNA. Now here, I just want to give you some examples. Try to see here. You must be knowing about Darwin. He is one of the famous scientists of the world, and he is well known for the theory of evolution. Okay, he first time gave the idea that we human beings actually evolved from monkeys. Okay, so in class when we are going to discuss the theory of evolution, we will discuss the work done by Darwin. Now try to see here, when Darwin, he first time proposed this idea that we the human being, we actually evolved from monkeys. Everyone was against. Most of the people, they were against Darwin. Many of the people, they actually didn't accept this idea. But now we generally have accepted this, that yes, we have evolved from monkeys. But initially when Darwin proposed this, there was some agitation against Darwin. There were protests against Darwin. Now, another example here, I just want to tell you of Galileo. Now try to see here, Galileo, he first time proposed, gave the scientific idea that all the planets, they are revolving around the sun. Earlier we used to believe that Earth is in the center and rest of the things, they are revolving around the Earth. But no, Galileo, he gave the idea that sun is in the center and rest of the planets, they are revolving around the sun. So here I just want to see, if you check back the history, a case was filed against Galileo and he was being sentenced jail. He was jailed for this truth. Today we accept this truth. Okay, but try to see here. Sometimes if you are going to say, if you are going to come with new scientific findings, okay, then sometimes you may have some agitation, protest against those findings. And it has happened in the past. Okay, but now the world is changing. Okay, we generally accept the scientific knowledge, okay, if it is being proved based on experiment. Now here hopefully you have learned what is science, what is biology, how the knowledge in the field of biology it is being advanced. Okay, this I want to tell you. Okay, so if you really want to be a scientist, then you must start with careful observation, you must develop good hypothesis, you must carry out careful experiments, and the most important, your experiments you are going to repeat multiple times, and based on your experiments you are going to judge carefully whether your hypothesis is going to stand true or false. And later, don't forget to communicate your research in good journals. Okay, and once you are going to report your results in any scientific journals, yes, other scientists they are going to study, other scientists they are going to repeat the experiments, and if your results are groundbreaking, then you are going to develop scientific theory. If other scientists they also validate your scientific theory, okay, then it will become facts, or you can say truth. Okay, so here I have summarized how the facts, the truth in the field of science it is being developed. Okay, so here hopefully you remember the literal meaning of science is to know, and in science we want to know truth, we want to know facts. Hopefully you are going to like this video. Okay, please subscribe to my channel Deep Learning Biology, and if you want to really support us, please scan the code, the UPI code, and you can, if you wish, you can support us. Thank you. Keep learning, keep watching Deep Learning Biology. Bye bye.